Really never a delete key in the digital universe. Some folks only find that out the hard way. All right. So when various schools and various programs and coaches lay out the rules for their young men and young women, say you're off social media for the balance of the season, for the duration of the season, does it stick? Do they really listen?
Well, we looked at two of the schools that indicated at the beginning of the season that they had a ban on Twitter, and we looked at Clemson and Florida State. And for the most part, Clemson football players were off Twitter. I mean, I think maybe we saw a retweet here and there, but they pretty much stayed off of it. Florida State, however, it looks like a lot of their players have come back, and we found at least a dozen tweets from a number of players, including some better known, like Dalvin Cook was one of them. And the other interesting thing we found was that a lot of these guys, and I'm sure this is many universities that have these bans, a lot of them created separate email accounts to sign up with a new Twitter account. And that was one thing that our attorney, Bradley Shear, on the piece said, is like, you can create these rules, but student athletes will always find a way to get around them. And, clearly that's happening. It's
the lure of social media. Now, as we saw in your report, there are a variety of philosophies. You discovered a very proactive stance at Arizona State University in Tempe. Let's take a look at your visit with Grace Hoy, who is a digital media specialist.
We have 23 sports, and I can pretty much count on about 5 student athletes who are sort of social media leaders for each team, where I know if I go to their social media profile, they'll have something funny or interesting to say. We'll have football talking about how they're at tennis or basketball watching a swim meet that are nice to repost.
And so this looks like a bunch of their Twitter handles, is that right?
Yes, so we're in our social media command center, which is called the Spark, and the first thing we have is a wall of fame where student athletes, current and former coaches come in and sign not only their autograph but also their Twitter handle.
So far, you guys haven't dealt with a horrible case of a student athlete just saying something outrageous. But a lot of times when you see this happen, the immediate reaction is, I'm going to take them off Twitter, I'm not going to let the team use social media, I'm going to ban cell phones. Why, in your opinion, is that not the way to respond to an incident like that?
That's how they express themselves, and some of them would like to keep their social media accounts completely private. So we'd rather equip them with the tools, if they're going to have public accounts, that they can conduct themselves professionally and positively, and let them take ownership and be responsible while giving them all of the tools to do so.
Do you ever feel that you're taking a risk with not being more sort of big brother-ish, that if something happens it's going to look poorly on the athletic department?
You are open to more criticism with social media, so that's why we hope that we give them all the skills, but I think they still would find a way for potential issues to occur whether or not we use social media, so we'd really like to focus on having fun with it.
Well, Paula, I've never been at a social media command center. It's quite the exciting visit. It's one of the largest campuses in the country, Arizona State, and so they're empowering hundreds, at least, of athletes. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it is. I think they make a real point of spending the time to educate student athletes on what can go wrong on social media, and then how to use social media for good. And they do a lot with repurposing what student athletes tweet, and they use it to really try to increase the brand. And so far, fingers crossed, they haven't had a really negative incident there.
As we saw in your reporting, there are a lot of large issues here. You can talk about the little blips in the digital road here from time to time, embarrassments, things that people have to tamp down. We're talking about First Amendment, we're talking about right of privacy and free speech, the industrial concept of branding. And so now you get into a legal area